We'll get into it here with a 4-game series against the Minnesota Twins. On the 17th, the Mariners would win that game to open up the series 7-6. We'll put up our photo of the game here by our photographer, Brian Saldana. Player of the game number 1, left fielder Jared Kelenic. Kelenic, 2 hits, 1 run, and 2 RBIs on the day. And then our second player of the game, who is pictured in our photo of the game here, third baseman Eugenio Suarez. Eugenio, 2 hits, 1 run, and 2 RBIs. Hits a homer that day. We'll continue with the homers here as we go back to it. July 18th versus the Twins in the second game of the series. Not so good. The Mariners would lose that one 3-10. Our player of the game, third baseman Eugenio Suarez. 1 hit, 1 run, and 2 RBIs. Gino hits another homer on that day. But our photo here, our photo of the game by Chris Liu, kind of encapsulates how that game went. I mean, the 3 runs is fine, but you give up 10. Really big struggle there, and Teoscar Hernandez kind of embodies the disappointment after that loss there. In game 3 of the series, as the Mariners were trying to bounce back, they were unable to do so, losing this one 3-6. On July 19th. Our player of the game, once again, third baseman Eugenio Suarez. 1 hit, 1 run, and 2 RBIs on the day. 3 homers in 3 games there for Gino. Our photo of the game here is relief pitcher Devin Sweet. And now you're going to want to remember Sweet's name when we get to the team-related news side of things and we discuss how Devin Sweet made his MLB debut that day. So just remember the name Devin Sweet. So the Mariners would go down 2-1 in that series, looking to tie things up in the 4th and final game of it on July 20th, which is a day game. They would be able to do so in a 5-0 shutout win over the Twins, mostly led by starting pitcher George Kirby, who is our photo of the game here by Brian Saldana. Kirby would not our listed player of the game here, but he essentially that win doesn't happen like that without him. Our listed player of the game, right fielder Teoscar Hernandez, 2 hits, 1 run, and 2 RBIs on the day. But Kirby had a really excellent outing there in this one. We'll get to it here for you so I can tell you why. And, since he's our photo of the game here, it makes perfect sense. But Kirby goes 7 innings, 4 hits allowed, and no runs allowed, no walks, and 10 strikeouts, doing all of that on 99 pitches. I mean, yeah, just an absolute masterclass by George Kirby there. So he split the series against the Twins. Disappointing. Disappointing is a word you could use. They do lead the AL Central, but that division, I think all of that division is just barely at or under 500. So it's not exactly like a competitive hotbed there in the Central Division of the American League. That would lead us into a 3-game set to round out the homestand and take place over the course of the weekend when the Toronto Blue Jays come to town. And, if you've been in this city or you're a Mariners fan, you know how that series looks when Toronto and essentially all of Canada come down to watch the Blue Jays play here in Seattle. July 21st, the opening game of that series on Friday night, the Mariners had their City Connect jerseys on. They would win that one 3-2 in a really tight back and forth sort of battle. Our player of the game and our photo of the game here by Brian Saldana captures it really well. Is right fielder Teoscar Hernandez. Teo, 3 hits on the day and 1 RBI. That RBI would be on a walk-off base hit in the bottom of the 9th that goes over the right fielder's head and off the wall to score the game-winning run here. You can see that photo really captures how Teo is feeling after that. It's great to see. That one was a lot of fun, big game energy. The Mariners pick up their 2nd win in the City Connect jerseys. We go over here to the 2nd game of the series, July 26th versus the Blue Jays. The first of 2 back-to-back kind of ruins it. 2 consecutive day games. The Mariners would win that one in a high-scoring affair, 9-8. Our player of the game, catcher Cal Raleigh, 2 hits, 2 runs, and 2 RBIs on the day. A multi-homer day in 6 career games against the Blue Jays. To that point, Cal Raleigh had hit 6 homers against Toronto. So it kind of makes the comments by manager John Schneider for the Blue Jays a little silly when he said that it's not hard to pitch to Cal Raleigh. And you can see in this photo of the game here by Liv Lyons, Cal's getting doused in the water bucket by Ty France. We go here to the final game of the series. The Mariners did look to get the sweep over Toronto, which would be a hard feat in and of itself. They would be unable to do so. losing that one on July 23rd, 3-4. Our player of the game, designated hitter Mike Ford. Fordo, 1 hit, 1 run, and 2 RBIs. A solo shot hits the Hit It Here Cafe and represents 2 of the 3 runs that the Mariners collect on this day. It's the second time this past week that Ford has hit the Hit It Here Cafe with a home run. You can see our photo of the game here by Sage Zepeto. Did I skip? Oh, no, I talked about Devin Sweet. You can see Brian Wu here kind of looking up after one of his innings. So we'll get in before we get into the general discussion about those past 7 games. We'll look here at our player of the week. I went with JP, led the team over the past 7 games in batting average. So, well, this is the last 6 games. 7 hits, 3 runs, 1 double, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, a 304 batting average, a 360 on base percentage, only a 348 slugging, but typically we don't know JP for his slugging ability, to create a 708 OPS. Mike Ford had a great OPS, higher than JP, and so did Gino, but JP led the team in batting average, so I just figured that looked better, and kind of was better, arguably, for what Seattle needs with their hitting struggles. So we're back here again. I know the last few episodes that we have had, even before the 2-week hiatus, talk heavily about the Mariners hitting, and that still remains the case as we look here. You know, we go back through the series, 7-6 win over the Twins, good. 3-10 loss. The pitching wasn't there, but even the offense wasn't there. And that July 19th game against the Twins, 3 runs, they had the opportunity to kind of do something there in the bottom of the 9th, unable to do so. The last game of the series against the Twins, 5-0. Sure. Even the series opener against the Blue Jays, where you just get 3 runs, not so great. Game 2 against the Blue Jays, big. I mean, they had a 3-homer third inning in this game on the 22nd, where Cal Raleigh, Dylan Moore went back-to-back, and then a few batters later, Julio hit a solo homer. So that was sure. But again, you don't want to be dependent on the long ball. So, I mean, this is a very interesting past homestand for the Mariners. They go 5-5 over the past 10 games in that homestand. They take the series win over the Blue Jays, but considering the sort of ground that the Mariners need to make up if they want to put themselves back in a playoff position, you might have needed to sweep them. And, you know, the Mariners left 9 runners on base. Was it 9? Yep, 9 runners on base in that series finale to the Blue Jays. Just can't drive people in. And I mean, even to a point, you know, the Mariners did have, in the 8th, they had some opportunity there. No, that's in the 9th. They had 2 runners on as Dylan Moore got hit by a pitch and Colton Wong walked. JP Crawford, this one was interesting. This is kind of what I was getting to. JP laid down a sacrifice bunt to move both Moore and Wong over, but JP Crawford has been pretty good in high leverage situations for the Mariners, so it was kind of puzzling to not see him swing the bat there. He's got a slash line of 318, 405, and 476 in those high leverage situations. 318 in high leverage is excellent, so I don't know why either he decided, I don't think he would have decided to drop the bunt down, or he was told to lay down the bunt. I would rather just trust JP to swing the bat in that situation. And then Julio struck out right after him to put 2 outs on. Julio's got a 153 batting average and a 36.3% K rate in the 9th inning this season, which is not great. Actually really bad. So yeah, that was a little confusing. Without the context of where you're at in the playoff race, I would normally be happy with just the series win. Knowing that you were that close to getting the sweep, frustrating, yes. But this is a Toronto team that's good. You know, they've got a lot of talent offensively, and you were able to get after their pitchers to an extent. But if we look at the wild card race here, the 3 teams that currently sit in the wild card are the Rays, the Astros, who you're trying to fight for in the division for the second second spot in the division, little in the second wild card, and then the Blue Jays, this Blue Jays team that you just played. So, I mean, you can kind of understand why that was so important. Then you've got ground to make up in front of you, because the Red Sox and the Yankees also sit in front of you for those wild card spots. They're both 2 games behind, and the Angels, The Angels are 4 games out of that spot, and because you lost yesterday, you dropped down a peg for them, and now you're in 4th in the division. So you can see you can't really afford to have these games that are just close, and you just get close enough, but you can't get over the hump. Time's running out. The trade deadline is on August 1st. Now, it's really going to we looked at it in an article that we did in terms of um how difficult this trade deadline is going to be, because the Mariners don't necessarily have a lot of trade ready prospects to move. Emerson Hancock, sticks out amongst the current farm system, but a lot of the farm system that the Mariners have right now, because of the trades that they made for Eugenio and Winker at the time, as well as Luis Castillo, they shipped out a bunch of your guys that were going to be ready for a potential trade package. You're trying to grow guys, like Gabby Gonzalez, like Cole Young, like Harry Ford, who are in your farm system right now and are in the top 100. You've got those young pitchers in Bryce Miller and Brian Wu too. But do you really want to move those pitchers this season when you're already hurting for starting pitching depth? Probably not. And then even besides that, obviously people have their respective feelings about different Mariners in the starting lineup. But what position are you upgrading? Where are you going to upgrade? First of all, I mean, second base sticks out, obviously, but and I would like a quote unquote better backup catcher, but where are you going to get that, and what are you going to give up? So you've got to look at those aspects. Where are you going to look at, and what are you going to give up? What are you willing to give up? Because the Mariners front office has talked often about how they don't want to just trade for a rental for the season. They want to be able to make a trade that's going to make them better for the next few years, let alone including this year. So the trade deadline is not that simple to just go and make a move. It's really not. I know Jerry DePoto's pulled things out with trades before, but it's going to be difficult. That trade deadline day is August 1st, Tuesday, August 1st at 3 p.m. Pacific time. The Mariners play later the day at 6 o'clock against the Red Sox here at T-Mobile Park. So it's going to be interesting to see if they get anything done. But it's the Mariners are in a tough situation, and they don't really have themselves to blame, whether that be the moves that were made in the offseason or how bad this offense is in terms of consistency. I talked about it before we had the hiatus, that any sort of change that's going to be made with this Mariners offense is going to be internal. It's going to have to be internal. And it in the most beautifully Mariners way possible, it's been inconsistent, the change that we've seen. So that's that. That's that with this past week of games. We'll look over here at injury-related news and roster moves. On the 16th, the team reinstated right-handed pitcher Bryce Miller from the 15-day injured list with a right middle finger blister. As a resulting move, the team optioned right-handed pitcher Matt Festa to AAA Tacoma with the Rainiers in order to make up that roster spot. On the 19th, the team selected right-handed pitcher Prelander Berroa Devin Sweet from the Arkansas Travelers. Berroa is exciting. He's got high velocity kind of guy. He's the Mariners' 13th ranked prospect by MLB.com. He was somebody that some were really excited about this spring training. But Devin Sweet, who I mentioned, and we'll go back to this photo by Sage here so we can tell this story. When Sweet appeared in his MLB debut back on July 19th, he became the first NC Central product in American/National League history and the second in Major League history, joining Bun Hayes, who appeared back in 62 games with 39 starts in the Negro Leagues from 1928 to 35. So some history there with Devin Sweet, and that was really cool to see. Just unfortunate that, kind of had to be rushed because of things like injuries there, needing to keep the bullpen fresh. But we'll continue on with the options that day on July 19th. As a resulting move to bringing up Prelander and Devin, the Mariners optioned right-handed pitcher Ty Adcock and Isaiah Campbell to the AA Arkansas Travelers. The big news out of them, one of the big pieces of news out of the Mariners this past week was that on July 20th, it was announced that left fielder Jared Kelenic, who's pictured here in this photo by Live Lions, was placed on the 10-day injured list with a left foot fracture. He fractured his foot kicking a water cooler after striking out in the 9th inning of a loss to the Twins on July 19th. That's what I mentioned, the Twins and the Mariners. There was an opportunity there to potentially get a win. So, people had a lot of thoughts about this, and that's fine. Social media, people are going to have thoughts. in the world, real world, people are going to have thoughts. Even I know that some of the folks who work in sports journalism, they get letters from fans who have thoughts that go to their respective newspaper offices. So um, I want to say this about Jared Kelenic and this injury here, because it's very difficult, obviously, to process for him, especially. I don't really care how the negative folks feel. Jared has a lot of heart. He's always had a lot of heart in what he does. And that's obvious. People talk about his attitude and his emotions. Yes, yes, yes. That's been a big topic of discussion since he got called up to the major league level. But, as someone who is at most to all of these Mariners home games and covers this team consistently, as it's what we're doing here, Jared's been a lot better this season about his emotions and things like that and keeping them in control. He's been a lot better about it. He's obviously an intense guy when it comes to that and how competitive that he is, but he's been a lot better about controlling it. So when I wake up and I find this news out and I see all these social media reactions calling him an idiot and calling him include bad words, I think it's stupid, quite honestly, to judge somebody on that one instance when for the large part of this season, not only has he been a lot better about his emotions, he's been one of the most valuable Mariners in total. He's second in WRC plus, which is a big offensive stat for those who are not aware. On the offensive side of the ball, yes, he's kind of struggled since having that hot start, but he has been a much better player in terms of off the field and how he controls his emotions and as a teammate, let alone at the plate or in the outfield. He's also third on the team in WAR behind George Kirby and JP Crawford, who leads the team. So in terms of value, this is big, and yes, he's 23. Well, I think he's 24 now, 24 years old. So he hasn't hit his baseball prime yet. And yes, he is young. And yes, it's a mistake. It's something that he openly admitted. But I think that it's foolish to sit here and just criticize the guy, when it's obvious that he's been not only a major factor on this Mariners team, he's going to be a major factor for years to come. And I think the criticism is a bit annoying, because if you had really improved on an area in your life and you have one mistake and slip up and it's a mistake that gets amplified, how would you like it if you just got criticized to no end? So I think it's ridiculous, and that's my take on the whole Jared Kelenic situation with injuries and such related to that. So we go over here to team-related news outside of the injury here. On the 20th of July, the team recalled outfielder Cade Marlowe as a result to the Jared Kelenic injury. Marlowe started in left field the day of his call-up, was batting 255 batting average with 52 runs scored, 13 doubles, 6 triples, 1 homer, 47 RBIs, and 25 stolen bases with 32 walks, while reaching base at a 332 clip and slugging 461 with a 793 OPS in 63 games with the Tacoma Rainiers this season. Since June 16th, he's hit, well, at the time of this call-up, he had hit safely in 22 of the last 24 games with a 313 batting average with 4 doubles, 7 homers, 17 RBIs, 17 walks, and 14 stolen bases with a 1.020 OPS during that span. So it was really cool to see Cade Marlowe make his MLB debut. I know he's somebody that some folks had wanted to see at the big league level, especially with the way that the offense has struggled. But I felt that he wasn't ready yet just because the PCL wasn't necessarily the best situation for hitters at the time, just because there's not necessarily a lot of top pitching talent. 1 second. Got some important stuff going on. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Okay. It's actually, long story short, I'll say it on the show. Our Twitter got suspended We're not sure why. So we're working the best I can through that. It's also why I have been running our social tab here to follow us on other socials, whether that be Instagram, Facebook, if you so wish, threads and such. And obviously our YouTube remains active. Well, I'll also put up our website here where you can see all the content that we're doing as well, in addition to the Converge channels. So that's what's that. I've got people who are helping me right now, and I'm like, I'm on the show, so we're trying to run it, but that's what's going on. I apologize for the delayed break, but really cool to see Cade Marlowe make his MLB debut, similar to Sweet and Prelander, and Isaiah Campbell as well. Probably a little quicker than they would have liked, or are necessarily ready for, but sometimes trial by fire helps people out and helps them grow into greater players. So excuse me, we're going to look here ahead at the upcoming situation for the Mariners, their upcoming road trip that will lead right into the trade deadline. The Mariners sit at a 50-win, 49-loss record, fourth in the American League West. Looking ahead, they will be facing off against these Twins again that they just played in a 4-game series, starting tonight at 4:40 p.m. Pacific time, July 24th at the Twins. Tomorrow's game, well, all of these games are actually at 4:40 p.m. July 24th, 25th, and 26th are all 4:40 p.m. starts over there at Target Field. We look over here to the next series, which is the Diamondback series. Seattle will go down to Arizona and battle the Diamondbacks for the first time this year, as well as Seattle native Corbin Carroll, who is a Rookie of the Year candidate, will probably win Rookie of the Year and has been in the MVP conversation as well. So the first game of that series is July 28th at 6:40 p.m. Pacific time. July 29th is a 5:10 p.m. Pacific time start, with July 30th to round out the series against the Diamondbacks down in Arizona, and the road trip is a 1:10 Pacific time start. Very quickly, since I'm trying to deal with this Twitter situation, we're going to go to a short break here and look back at the reconciliation tour. So we're just going to give it a quick break so I can deal with that. We'll be right back with the Storm segment of the show.
Baseball is a beautiful game, especially when played in community. Earlier this summer, Baseball Beyond Borders took a powerful, eye-opening journey through the heart of the South, which included baseball, civil rights, and reconciliation. Our young kings hosted a baseball clinic at Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi, and hit the road to Montgomery, Alabama by way of the historic Edmund Pettus Bridge to visit the Equal Justice Initiative Museum and Memorial, all in an effort to ground our kings in their history and find serenity in the sport they love to preserve the cultural legacy. Join Baseball Beyond Borders on September 27th for the premiere of our film, Reconciliation Tour, at T-Mobile Park's Ellis Pavilion from 3 to 5 p.m. Hear from those on the front line as well as special guests as we elevate our promise to bring healing through play. For tickets or to donate, visit baseballbeyond.org or check our social media platforms.
It's always really cool to see, the reconciliation tour, not only just what was put together itself by Converge, but also that trailer, and then to be there for the HBCU Swingman Classic. And I know that we're planning to do a sort of follow up on some of the players from the roster that were there for that event, because it's really cool. The All-Star Week for MLB will be done in Texas next year with the Rangers and in Arlington. And I know that event should just grow and grow as it actually gets closer in terms of geography to the HBCU. So regardless,